Hi, good afternoon. This is a CRDC SCA monthly engagement call for April. We've had a couple folks that have joined, but we're going to give it another couple of minutes, allow a few more folks to join into the call. Hi folks, it's about 1 minute after 2. I see a couple more people have joined. We're going to give it another couple of minutes just to make sure that everybody who is planning on joining the call is able to join at the start of the call. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the April CRDC SCA Engagement Monthly Call. My name is Gabrielle Tapscott, and let's go ahead and get started. It's about 2 minutes after 2. We can catch up anybody that joins the call afterwards. Just a reminder, this is an open call. Feel free to stop us at any time and ask questions. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so if on the call, I do see that we have a few folks. If you guys don't mind just announcing yourselves and letting me know which state that you are representing, that would be great.
This is June from Colorado.
Good afternoon, June. Okay, don't be shy. I do see we have a few folks. Okay, if you guys want, feel free to just shoot the CRDC PSC an email afterwards and just let us know that you were on the call. But again, feel free at any time if you have questions to stop and ask. Let's go through the agenda for today, what we're going to cover. So I will introduce the folks from both OCR and from the CRDC PSC team representing on the call today. We'll walk through some of our PSC trends just from the tickets that are coming in and the calls and emails that we're receiving. I will give folks a quick update on our submission status for 1718. We'll talk a little bit about the state certification progress reports. We'll go over our closing dates. And then future meetings. And then if you guys have any additional questions or anything that you would like to cover that we haven't already covered, feel free to speak up, and I'm more than happy to go answer any questions that you have. Okay, so on the call today, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce folks. We do have Janice Brown from OCR. And from the Partner Support Center, I'm Gabrielle Tapscott. We have Fred Johnson, and we have Antoinette Goins. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
So, and for those folks that don't recognize her voice, that is Janice. So you will be hearing from her throughout the call. So I just want to talk a little bit, give you guys just an idea of the types of calls and emails that we are receiving within the PSC. You can see that a large, from the graph, a large chunk of our calls and emails are in response to outreach that the team has been doing for folks that either have not started submitting data or the LEAs that have actually finished submitting all their data but have not actually certified their data. We have found that in some cases, LEAs don't realize that the final step is to certify their data. So you'll see a big chunk there. We have hit our peak period for the 17-18 collection, so we're getting quite a few calls from folks that are trying to resolve errors that they're receiving before they certify, or just needing help in understanding the certification process. So we've been walking folks through, helping them to resolve errors, warnings, understand why they're receiving it and what they need to do to correct those errors or warnings. I think it's starting to slow down on folks changing their contact information. We're getting a few here and there, but for the most part, that was the heavy period at the start of the collection. And then everything else was kind of about even. Folks are starting to now, as they're going in to wrap up their data submission, they're realizing that they have a school assigned to under the LEA that is a closed school, and so they're asking us to now delete those schools, which we are checking against EdFacts to make sure that it is actually a facility that was closed during the 17-18 school year. Okay. Our submission status, we are making great progress. We're actually very pleased of where we're at. As of this morning, we had just under 6,400 of the LEAs have now certified their data, which is about 36% of our universe. Of the total universe of 17,723 LEAs, 95% of the LEAs have actually logged in, and if they have not already certified their data, they are actively submitting data. So we're really pleased with the progress that the LEAs are making. We are tracking ahead of where we were with the 15-16 time frame. We do feel from the PSC perspective that a big part of this success has been the SCAs that have been involved in either submitting data for their LEAs or actually helping to support their LEAs and getting their data in. So for the folks that are on the call today, we would like to thank you guys for your help and your partnership with this collection. Okay, and just to keep talking about any additional support that you guys can continue to provide as we're starting to get towards the closing phase of the 17-18 collection, you guys can just continue to monitor your LEA submission and certification status. We're more than happy. If you need any additional information, contact the Partner Support Center and we can provide that information to you guys on where your LEAs are at. But you can also go into the system and pull the reports yourself at any time. We also want to remind for any of the LEAs that are working with a vendor that it is the LEA's responsibility to make sure that they are submitting and reviewing their data prior to certifying their data. We do ask that they not have the vendor submitting data and certifying on behalf of the LEA. Because honestly, the LEA knows their data. They're able to easily spot if something doesn't look right before they certify their data. And then again, we are taking advantage of our EdFacts Partner Support Center being co-located. They do send out a weekly EdFacts support update. So we do try to take advantage when we can to provide updates within their weekly update, hoping that the SCAs are also receiving that update and can stay on top of where we're at with CRDC. If you do not receive that EdFacts weekly support update, again, please reach out to us, either the EdFacts PSC team or the CRDC team. Let us know. We can add you to that weekly support update. A few other things just to keep in mind. So we are looking at the data quality of the data that's currently being submitted. We've already started pulling for the LEAs that have already certified, looking at the data quality, looking at trends. And as we did with the 15-16 collection, once we close out, we will be working with LEAs where we've identified data quality issues, working with them to correct their data, and providing support to those LEAs to help them to correct their data. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So
will you be will you be including C's? Will you be including C's on those emails that you'll be sending out to our LEAs?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, sorry. When you send messages to the LEAs at this final process, will you be including the C's on there if you want us to also contact them and try to move them along?
Yeah, so what we've been doing in some cases is we've been reaching out directly to the SCAs asking for some help when we've been identifying certain, especially looking at some of the large LEAs at this point. If we do identify large or super larges that haven't started or that are have submitted very little data, we have been starting to reach out to the SCAs to ask for help. I think was that June that was talking?
Yes.
I think that Colorado, the last time I checked, is in pretty good shape. But we are at the point now where we are starting to pull our daily reports, check to see if there are specific LEAs that we want to reach out to, and we are including the SCAs in those. So it is possible over the next few weeks you might start hearing from the PSC.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So let's just kind of talk about the closing dates. We, again, are broken out by East Coast, Central, and West Coast. Our close dates, we had an original close date starting with next week on Monday, the 22nd, then the 24th, and then the 26th. We are experiencing some system latency issues because we do have a very high volume of folks that are now accessing the system, submitting data, quite a large load on the system of the files, and so we are providing an additional 2 weeks to the SCAs based off of your original close date of the 22nd, the 24th, or the 26th to complete your data submissions. This is something that we are looking at. We've seen improvement from the 15-16 collection, but it's something that we're looking at for the next collection of how we can better schedule out both the opening and the close. Do we need to kind of spread it out a little bit more? Also looking at some improvements that we can make to the system to help to handle the high volumes that we see at the soft close dates. One of the things that we've been reminding the LEAs is just to continue to submit your files, and the files will load overnight, so you may not see them load right away, which is something I know most folks are used to, but when you log back in the morning, those files will have loaded and their data will be there. Okay. So we wanted to talk a little bit about, I'm sure quite a few of you are aware there's been quite a bit of focus on the restraint and the seclusion data from the 15-16 collection. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to turn it over to you, Janice, and let you talk a little bit about the restraint and seclusion data.
Okay. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Sure.
I just wanted to talk with you about this because I think right after the last monthly call that we had, letters went out with regard to the Secretary's initiative on the addressing the inappropriate uses of restraint and seclusion. And so earlier in the year, Secretary DeVos had sent out a press release saying what the department was going to do in order to look at the issue of restraint and seclusion and the inappropriate uses that may be going on within our schools across the nation. And as a part of that, there were a few things that were noted that the Office for Civil Rights would do, but more specifically, what would be done with the data or the civil rights data. One of the things that the letter said that OCR would do in regards to the data wasn't to conduct some data quality reviews. And this was focused on the 15-16 data collection. And so we're looking at what was submitted for by districts for that time period, and if there were any outstanding kind of data quality issues that we had with the data. Subsequently, after looking at the data, many people in our office questioned the submission of providing information that said that there were no instances or any students subjected to physical restraint, mechanical restraint, or seclusion within the district. And so letters went out to 50 different districts and asking them to please look at their data from the 15-16 and confirm that it was either accurate or that perhaps there was a data quality issue and that they would need to amend the data. Those letters went right out on March 22nd, so it was right after we had our last monthly call with you. So I just wanted to kind of follow up and let you, if you hadn't been aware of it, let you know about it. Not in that it was just 50 districts. Not every district or every state would have been touched by this, but it was spread across all of the regions of the regional offices that OCR works with. So, you know, it was districts all across the country. So they had 30 days in order to respond to that. So we will be getting those responses back next week, hopefully from all of the districts, and then we'll follow up with any district that we don't hear from. But the other piece that was important within that letter was reminding districts to look at as they're submitting their 17-18 data, to take another look at it and to make sure that they've taken the proper steps in order to ensure that the data was accurate before they certify the data for this collection. So I just wanted to reiterate that, to make sure, to ask you all rather to work with your districts in order to do that, so that you know, we make sure that we're improving the quality of the data that we're getting for this particular for the 17-18 data collection. The second piece of this initiative that was related to the civil rights data collection was the providing technical assistance to schools on data quality. And so we wanted to make sure that they're not only collecting the data within their schools and districts and also reporting it to us that it's accurate going forward. So not only applying it to the 17-18 collection, but any collection, the future collections after that. So we are currently working on developing a presentation or webinar. I'm not quite sure the form that it will go out at this point, but we're developing some broad-based technical assistance that we can give to the districts about the collection and the reporting of restraint and seclusion data. So you'll be seeing that coming out pretty soon. So I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of it. As I know, like I said, 50 districts. It didn't touch every state. But if you were getting this information, just if you have any questions, I'm here to answer that.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Any questions? Okay.
So, and I will. One more thing, sorry, Gabrielle. I just thought of, and we were talking about vendors and the use of vendors in order to provide data. I do know that was one problem that had come up with a district. wasn't, they weren't doing anything intentional, but there was a problem within the data that was provided by the vendor, and so therefore that's why there was an error within their data. So that's what we're asking, that it's just really important for all of our districts to make sure that they're working very closely with their vendors when they're using them to collect and help them to report the data.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think one of the things that that could have a potential issue is that having a vendor that's working with a large number of LEAs, if there's an issue on the vendor side, that will impact all of the LEAs that they're supporting, and it could possibly create data quality issues for quite a few of the LEAs. So, again, that's another reason why we do ask the LEAs to make sure that they are ensuring that the data is valid before they submit it, and that they're going through and looking for any type of outlier that they might have, anything that just doesn't look right, to give it a second look.
Exactly.
Okay. So if there are no questions, and again, please feel free, but if there are no questions, we are scheduled for our next meeting for May 16th, again at 2 o'clock, always the third Thursday of the month. We do, are interested in hearing from you guys. If there's any specific topics of interest that you would like us to cover, please, feel free to send us an email to the CRDC Partner Support Center. We can add that to the agenda. Or the specific, issues that you'd like us to address or questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Hello.
So this is June from Colorado. I do have a couple of things that I'd like to bring up. When there's a yes/no question and there is a warning that has popped up for our districts, if the field should actually be an NA where it doesn't apply, that's not part of the drop-down. And then if you click right above the yes/no option where it's blank, then suddenly this option of NA or whatever shows up. And that's where you can select that, and that will get rid of the warning. But that's not intuitive in the system, and so we've answered, we at the state, we ended up pre-populating one field incorrectly, and it affected a number of LEAs and their schools, and to walk them through that one by one where it should be an NA that shows up automatically, but it doesn't. But if we hadn't discovered that you can actually click in the blank above the yes/no option, we would never know how to get rid of that warning by actually going in there. It just seems like that's a strange anomaly in the system, that if it had an NA in there to begin with, we could just direct them, we'll select the NA, and that will get rid of the warning, or that will get rid of the error. Because otherwise, they had no idea, and we didn't either, how to even fix that. This one in particular went to an issue that we had with the skip logic on magnet. And it was the second question that actually should have been skipped. It was another indicator question, but should have been skipped based on how we populated the first indicator on that. So anyway, that was just one of the things that I wanted to bring up. And the second one was for those districts that were part of the pilot testing that helped us test out, when Partner Support sent out the new link, it wasn't real clear that, you don't use this link that was getting you into the test system. Because both of the links looked very similar, that now you had a new one to get you into production, and they ended up uploading a bunch of data into the test system. and then they didn't even know they had done that. And then they went into the system, and I think it was partner support then came back to them and said, hey, did you know that you actually imported all this data into the test site? And they didn't know the difference. And I think at one time the front screen showed that, oh, this is the test site, and then that message was removed, so they didn't even realize they had been working in the test site instead of the production site. So just kind of two issues that we've worked with some of the districts on.
Okay. So June, I do appreciate you giving us that feedback. That is definitely helpful, and it's good. What was review we're going to address the first? I'm sorry.
So the first issue I've already passed to the developers for the 1920 collection, and for the second issue, I actually reached out to that user in Colorado and let him know that he was in the test site. Not a lot of users actually do that after the collection opens, and the automatic message that the users receive once the collection opens, we can't specify to users who were in the pilot that there are two different links. So I'm actually one that goes in there and I actually update the message that this is a test site. The notifications that we put on the production site are usually tested in pilot first. That way we make sure the format and everything is correct, and then we copy those to production. So that's the reason why that this is a test site may have been removed.
Yeah, and June, I mean, I think it's a good point, though, like for us, for the next collection, for any of the folks that do participate in the pilot, that when we close the pilot session out, we can make sure that we message to folks that we are closing out the pilot phase, and that that link that they are using will no longer be a valid link for them for submitting their actual production data. So we'll make sure that we make that clear for the next collection.
Yeah, that would be perfect, because I even had some confusion on my end, because when the email came out, I'm not sure that it had, the link was so similar, and so I'm looking back through emails and I'm thinking, oh gosh, did I just upload all that data into the test system? I mean, at that time I was confused, so I understand how my district got confused as well. So it was like when the link finally came out, I had to ask for it a second time, because it's like, oh, I don't know which one I'm supposed to go into. It was just a little confusing.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Hello, this is Susan with Wisconsin.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. On your slide, you indicated that I'm sorry, but on the survey homepage, you indicate there's a 2-week extension.
Yes.
So does that mean, for example, Wisconsin was supposed to close on the 24th of April, that we will now close on May 8th?
Yeah, that's correct. So the 2-week extension will be based off of your original close date. So we've been making sure to message to folks to make sure that they are clear on, their East Coast, Central, or West Coast, what date they're closing on. And with the 2-week extension, it's based off of what your original close date was.
And those dates will be updated in the system tomorrow morning, so when districts log in, they will see the new due dates.
Perfect, thank you. And also, I'm not quite sure what's going on with our districts this year, but in the last week or two, I have gotten more calls that they've never, ever heard of the civil rights data collection from districts. Yes. And so I'm not quite sure how that is even possible.
We've been doing a lot of outreach to not started districts, so those are likely the people who are calling you.
Yeah. What we've been doing is for the districts that were in a not started status, where we were not getting any responses back, we've been going out and looking for any additional contact information that we can find. And so in that case, in some cases, we're adding additional folks to the broadcast messaging that's going out, and that might be who's reaching out to you, some of the folks that we've added as contacts.
Okay, because they went so far as to say, Well, we haven't received anything, any communications or anything. And I went, wait a minute, let me check your contacts. Oh, yeah, they were all right.
Yep, and they might be folks that we just, in our research, that we just added since we were not getting a response from the other contacts. So these might be new folks that we've added. And it sounds like it's working, adding these new folks in, because if they're reaching out to you, that was our point, is hoping that adding some new folks in would help to get the LEA started.
Perfect. And as you discussed the last time we were on this call, was that if there are districts that just are not done, I should not advise them to attempt to certify with theirs, correct?
They actually cannot certify with errors, so if they do try to certify with blank fields, they're going to be directed to contact the Partner Support Center in order to create an action plan.
Perfect. I just wanted to know, because they're going to ask next week when we have our biweekly support call. That way
absolutely tell them to take advantage of the Partner Support Center. Reach out to us. We can help with helping them to work through their errors.
Perfect. That's what I've been doing. If I couldn't easily walk them through it, then I just sent them right to you. So, yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions?
Gabrielle, this is Janice. I was just thinking about what June was saying about the yes/no question and not being able to see NA. I'm wondering if there's any kind of TA that we can send out to districts to kind of make them aware of that.
Let us look at the system and figure out the best, what makes more sense, whether it's a broadcast message or adding a message into the system, in the system. We'll take a look at that.
Okay, thanks. And my idea might not be the greatest one, but just something to let people know that maybe other districts don't have the problem.
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, I'm going to give everybody about a half hour of their day back. But again, I would like to thank you all for joining the call and continuing to join the call, and for your partnership and support of your LEAs. Again, I truly feel that it's making a big difference in the success of the 17-18 CRDC, and looking at where we are at this time compared to where we were at the same time during the 15-16 collection. Just to give you some examples, I think we've got, I said, about a little over 16,000 LEAs in a not started status. This time last collection, we only had about 10,000 LEAs in a started status. So we are much further ahead of where we were. We're also about 5-6% ahead of where we were this time last year with LEAs that are in a certified status too. So we're making great progress. We're getting some really great questions back from the LEAs. We're seeing that we have, I know we usually have a lot of turnover with each CRDC, but I'm seeing some returning users. I'm even seeing some returning users that are recognizing the names of some of the CRDC Partner Support Center folks, and they're emailing and they're asking for specific folks, and glad to see that some of us are returning back and recognize their names. So it's really been a great partnership. So again, thank you all, and thank you for joining the call. And if I don't talk to anybody before tomorrow, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.